those four categories, the government, private sector, civil society, and news media and fact checking, all move completely in concert, very, very, very deliberately. Again, this whole society model goes back to 2017, which is when it was set up within the sort of State Department DHS axis, which itself sort of has these intelligence origins in places like the Atlantic Council. But it goes back decades before that because they borrowed that from our counterinsurgency model. Counterinsurgency is what the Pentagon and the CIA do to manage foreign populations who have a political movement rising in a foreign country that might topple a U.S. installed dictator or a U.S. installed puppet government. We have counterterrorism, which is when that involves violence. We have counterinsurgency, which is when there's an insurgent political group who might unseat a preferred political party that is giving us a sweet deal on oil and gas or a sweet deal on rare earth minerals or is allowing us to have a U.S. military base or is voting with us in a UN vote. So we have a very special set of skills to manage the rise of political dissidents in a place where we don't want them to gain entry politically. And that's called our whole society model for counterinsurgency. They basically took that for free speech on the internet. And so now you have, when you have a consensus within the foreign policy establishment, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the CIA, that immediately moves into the financial institutions, that immediately moves into the tech companies, that immediately moves into the NGO swarms and the think tanks, and that immediately moves into the legacy media and the fact checker network. They're all together at the same meetings. They're all part of this same consensus building apparatus. And, part of this is because they all depend on the government for international favors. A great example of this is, the financial institutions are totally in league with the foreign policy establishment, even in places like Ukraine. It was USAID, which is the CIA's number one funding conduit for clandestine operations. USAID and the U.S. State Department jointly coerced President Zelensky in Ukraine, starting in 2019 when he was elected, to use this digital identity app called DIA, DIIA. And that basically puts every Ukrainian citizen, it's called a state in a smartphone, where all the state services are all linked up in an app on everyone's phones. This links their social media accounts and their digital identity to their bank accounts. So if they decide that they don't like President Zelensky, now they can all have their bank accounts nuked. But it was USAID who got them to do it in partnership with Amex and Visa, who are now have a totally captive market in that region because their monopoly is protected by the Pentagon. This happens all over the world. All the oil companies, all the gas companies, all the credit card companies, all the tech companies rely on the battering ram of the State Department, the Defense Department, and our intelligence community to protect and secure their markets and investments in abroad. I used to be in that job when I was at State. And, I've talked to all these people in the private sector. They need the government's favors, so they do favors for the government. When the government says, hey, deplatform these people, take these people up. We have a new initiative around misinformation. No funding goes to this. The advertisers comply. The financial institutions comply. The tech companies comply because they need the help from the government concurrently.
So when you read the Twitter files, you weren't shocked. You were like, yeah, this is business as usual in any company, not just to mention a tech company or a social media company.
Yeah, I was screaming my head off. This is the tiniest little tip of the iceberg, and you ain't seen nothing yet. Right. I mean, it's, but I was a part of those Twitter files as well. I worked with Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger on helping to sort of explain that. And, it was a very important thing for people to see because seeing it internally at Twitter gave another layer of depth to what was already available open source through government's disclosures from lawsuits. And I think it gave a lot of confidence to the House of Representatives here in the U.S. that subpoenaing for more information is not going to send you on a wild goose chase because you already know who's CC'd on these emails. You already know, there were leads that I think gave confidence. I think before that, a lot of people, weren't totally sure how deep the rabbit hole went, or they didn't necessarily believe it just when they saw, snippets from YouTube videos or they saw disclosures from lawsuits. And also, I think knowing that this was happening week after week for 25 weeks, and knowing that Elon Musk who was the wealthiest person in the world and had a tremendous amount of social clout from all the different, companies that are mission critical, even to the U.S. government, like SpaceX and Tesla, was willing to turn over the dirty underwear, so to speak, of his own company. I think gave a lot of confidence to other actors in the free speech community at the legislative and at the government level to keep going. And that was really a huge boon, I think, to the free speech movement.
Yeah, it was powerful. Although, since the mainstream media give it zero coverage, I still bump into people and say, the Twitter files, right? And they're like, no, I don't really know what you're talking about. I'm like, what? I mean, this was such a big thing. I guess I'm in this whole freedom of speech chamber, but it seemed like such a big deal and so revelatory. But they did a good job, though, of keeping it quiet by not giving it any coverage. And again, when I saw those, I just wanted to see the YouTube files and I wanted to see what was going on. And I guess you were thinking, well, there's also the oil company files and the banking files. And for you, this is business as usual. But for a lot of people, they didn't know that. And every time someone would pose that or posit that idea, they say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, that stuff would never happen. And I guess it's so easy to wash that, put that under the rug because they've been doing that for decades, right?
Yeah, well, we actually have started to see some of those other files. So Jim Jordan, who's the chair of the House Weaponization Subcommittee here in our Congress, he subpoenaed all of the major tech companies after the Twitter files, and it came out, in the Facebook files that the House published. It turned out that the White House itself, Rob Slarty, who was running the White House digital strategy office, was personally telling Facebook to tweak their algorithm to super promote the New York Times and to de-amplify voices like Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. And he was, literally the White House micromanaging the algorithm of Facebook and Facebook's internal communications around, God, this is a really weird and harsh request, but we need the government. So what do we do in this situation? Even the Amazon files just came out, because they were included in the subpoena sweep from Jim Jordan. And it turned out that the White House was telling Amazon to ban books that were critical of COVID-19 orthodoxies. So, you had a top-down government, manual book burning digitally.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, got to do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I'm just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's of course been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just an overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you got to pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.